Okay, well, let's go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Speedway Stormwater Management Board meeting. Today's January 18th, 2018. We do have a quorum. I'm Carrie Dorman. I've got Bob Staten with me and Jeff Matthews. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the Stormwater Management Board meeting from April 20th, 2017, which was our last regular meeting. Are there any corrections or modifications to the minutes?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'd make a motion to accept.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes of the April 20th, 2017 meeting are approved. We've got a couple agenda items this evening, so let's go ahead and get right to those. The first matter I think that we have is an update on the upcoming stormwater regulations, and I think is that you, Wendell, or Norm?
The upcoming stormwater regulations.
Yeah, I've got it on our,
Okay.
Do we have an item on that tonight, or do we want to pass on that?
We can have. Yes, we can. It's something I had forgotten to really put on my agenda. Just to give you an update, EPA has revised the stormwater regulations as it pertains to construction sites and the runoff of those construction
Rule
sites.
5.
Rule 5. Erosion and sediment control. It's currently, it went to committee, IDEM committee. It passed through the IDEM committee. It went through the comment period. And now we believe that that's going to probably go into effect sometime this summer. So I don't really have any official information on that. I just am aware that the regulations were going to change, so the monitoring is going to, that we're going to have to do, required to do, is going to change.
Okay. Do we have any process, Norm, for educating our staff and construction contractors and things like that? How do we manage that to get the word out?
We do, and we can do that through our website, but we definitely educate our own personnel as far as, we do our own site inspections. We do our own permitting of the sites. So internally, we do have training, a training process that goes on. We really don't have any official construction contractor type training. And farther in the meeting, there's going to be an agenda where, on the agenda, where I'm going to propose that we look into increasing our training, especially public education and outreach. But as far as the regulations go, that's going to change, and they're going away from what they call a general permit and going to NPDES permits as far as stormwater. That one's going to be a little more in detail. Right now, we're just under a general IDEM permit, stormwater permit. When they go to an NPDES permit, and we're still, all of us, we're just still waiting on direction from IDEM on how this process is going to, go, what requirements there are going to be. But we just do know that the permitting part is going to change.
Okay.
So as I get more information on that, I'll definitely keep Jacob in the loop and the board in the loop on where we're at through that process. I mean, it's not going to just, they're not going to just say bang, there it is. They're going to give us time to be able to receive the information and be informed of exactly what's going to be required. And I believe there's going to be some satellite meetings that IDEM will put on at different locations around the state, and I'll definitely attend one of those once those come through.
Good.
So right now it's all pending.
Perfect. Well, we'll look forward to hearing back from you then this summer, and obviously if there's anything you need from the board, just don't hesitate.
I will.
We'd be happy to help. It's, it's an important, obviously an important issue for us. Are there any questions from either Bob or Jeff? Okay. Norm, you want to stick with you? Do you want to take the next item, or do we want to move over to Wendell?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'd just like to bring to your attention a couple of projects we're looking at for this season. We've had some issues down at 22nd and Crawfordsville Road. This is where our 72-inch storm line dead ends, and then we take in the properties north of Crawfordsville Road, which is the old Pizza Hut, the daycare, and Copper Tree Legends apartments, excuse me. And we've identified an issue down here. So I'm asking that we're going to work with Wessler Engineering to look at the catch basin just in front of the old Pizza Hut, the daycare there at the intersection, to see if we can move excess water down to the east and then bring it back across Crawfordsville Road and use existing drainage ditch line on the south side of Crawfordsville Road. So we're going to get Wessler out. We've got to get some survey information and some depth on the manholes and the basins that we already have to see if we can pull that water across there. Then we can determine the cost for construction of doing all this and present it back to you. Then on the other project, you got any questions on that one before I jump forward?
No.
On our 15th Street alley here by Chase Bank from Lyndhurst to Allison, we have a dry well system to capture stormwater in that alley system. We cleaned these 2 years ago, restoned them, everything. Throughout the whole town in the old neighborhood district, we have these throughout. And then north of Crawfordsville Road from Lyndhurst over to, say, Georgetown area, we have some of those in those alleyways too. So the last couple of years, we went through and cleaned them, restoned them, and this one here is failing on us. So we've come up with a solution, we think, to get this stormwater off this alley and out of these properties, is we will do a connection into existing dry well system. We'll take a pipe out to Allison's. We'll set a structure at the entrance into the alley to capture water coming off of Allison. We'll bring that down to 15th Street and connect into our new storm system there. So we're doing this in-house. We've walked it, talked it, been out. So we're going to look at doing a design build on this project because we're probably 50 to 52,000 on construction and getting this thing up and running. So we'll have they will take shots all the way through here to make sure we're moving the water in the right direction. Because if you can look at the parking lot for Chase, we'll move that water back to Lyndhurst to get in those basins. Then we'll move the rest of it down to the existing dry well and then into the new system. So we'll get this all in works, get it out as a design build, get some numbers back, and see if we can make it happen. And we've already talked to one of our contractors about doing this, and that's where we got the estimated number to work off of to see if we can do this.
So we can expect an update from you and perhaps a request then to approve the project once you get those remaining
Yes.
bids or
Yes.
information and to cost it out.
And of course, this is going to be weather dependent. Probably we have to wait for asphalt plants to open back up, which
Yeah,
will be
spring.
middle of April time. So to give us some time to get the request out, they can get out and do their shots and get the information back
How do
to us.
how do you force water in a common main in one direction and then in another direction?
Well, what they do when
Just a
they
pumping
get their equipment out and start doing shots and stuff,
Yeah.
you can eyeball a lot of it, but
Yeah.
we need this to be specific. They'll take their shots, they'll find out where their slopes is.
Oh, I see.
And what is coming to us, and then we can direct the asphalt. When we have the asphalt crew work off those numbers, then we can break that water in different directions.
Okay.
Highly scientific.
It's
It
very,
is.
gravity is a marvelous thing for water.
Yes.
Terrific. Okay, good update. Any questions?
No.
Jeff or Bob? Nope? Good.
And I think
Great update.
the other thing is, we are working on our sump pump program
Yeah.
Because over the years, we've identified it as being an issue into our sanitary, and this is stormwater going into our sanitary. So we have a neighbor that's volunteered some help and time, and we're going to make use of that help and time with your guys' permission and everything. We're looking at different towns and cities, ordinances, programs, and we'll bring those back to everyone. We've already made contact, Jacob has, with Greenwood to get their information. They've got a program that they have an incentive to help people or entice people to get off the system. We will do inspections, follow-ups, and try to get this accomplished. And this will be out throughout our entire district because we have Farley and Chapel Hill and Twin Oaks and all those that are on our system too. So we'll be looking, code enforcement will be working with us, looking at our ordinances to see if we need to add something to subtract from it what we have on the books now. And all these regulations from norms, education to me these are mandated that we get these off our system because we're spending all that money treating this stormwater at the plant. So we're going to make an effort to work at this and with the help of our neighbor up north doing some research and being involved with us, it'll help us out tremendously.
It's expensive to treat things we don't have to treat.
Yes, and it creates other problems
Yeah.
because our dry weather months and stuff, we do just fine when we start getting heavy rain events and stuff. And from our time and inspections that we've been out in the field, we can see when pumps start kicking on and
Yeah.
filling our lines up.
Good.
So it's a benefit to everyone. So
Yeah.
we'll be working at that and reporting back to you. And I think we're going to give an update on dry run? Or you want me to?
Wendell, I think that's good news and something that you guys have worked really hard on, so I think it'd be appropriate for you to give that update.
And just, this is good news. Our dry run project has been completed. It's doing what the engineers designed it to do. All of our paperwork has now been approved by the state and the city. Everything has been signed off. As of yesterday afternoon, it has been submitted to FEMA. So we're in the last process of getting this done, and this could be a 6-month to a year
Wow.
review process. Our counselors and Jacob are working with our state
Elected officials.
elected officials to see if we can move this forward a little bit quicker and get it on their desk for a review. But that is good news. This is where we worked to get to, and it's taken us some time, but we're there.
Yeah, it's a major undertaking. It has been a lot of hard work, so congratulations. You're in the final stretch.
It's a team effort.
Yeah,
It's taken
for
us
sure.
all to get to this point, so.
Good
Thank you very
leadership, though.
much. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
I'll add the caveat, so, I get a lot of calls on this particular issue personally, people asking, maybe they're refinancing, or
Right.
they haven't had a mortgage for several years, and they go out and take a mortgage, and what is
get
this? They
flood
weren't aware.
insurance.
Yeah, now they're being told they need to get flood insurance. So, it's very important for people to realize that technically, in the eyes of the people that control the maps, the flood maps,
Yeah,
in their eyes. And so, as Wendell was mentioning, we've had to go through the process with the state now that they've given their blessing, and we also had to shovel some paperwork with the city because it impacts the city of Indianapolis as well, in a beneficial way, of course. But they had to get their sign off. It's now with the entity that can formally make the change, and so that's when you talk about the flood maps that your bank looks at, your insurance looks at. FEMA is who controls that, so we do have to have their review process, and I know that's frustrating for folks to hear because they've been hearing about this project for so long. I mean, the work's been done, and the good news is that a lot of the legwork has been done, and a lot of work has gone into this. The frustrating part of it is still hold out just a little bit longer, and our Wendell said 6 to 12 months. It took a little while at the state to review. I'm not smart enough to understand all the hydraulics of it, but apparently our project is a little bit complicated, and the modeling is a little bit complicated. So I'm telling folks to plan on a year, just based on the state, them taking kind of on the longer end. But And the only other thing I'm adding on top of that is even after it's done, we're still encouraging folks to keep their flood insurance. It's just going to be a lot cheaper, and you're not going to be required to do it anymore. So did I cover the two caveats that you were thinking of?
Yeah, I was thinking of
So I like to throw those out there just as we're talking around this issue to make sure people are well aware of what's going on exactly.
Yeah,
Because we don't control the weather, and there's no guarantee
Right.
that there still won't be flooding at some time or another, so.
it would be another good thing that once we get through the FEMA process, to give our, residents of the town a good thorough update on the impact of all of that, so,
And our hopes is once we get this approval, that we can do a program we have to have our residents involved in getting that insurance to come off their properties. So we'll have a program, some information to share out with the residents, that how the procedure works on their part. We get everything approved, and we'll have some kind of package or something from FEMA to
Yeah.
help us out here, so.
good job.
I think we're going to have a party, actually, is what we're going to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that,
Right,
So-
right.
yeah, we're going to have the party, and then we're going to educate everybody, so, good, well, good work, that'll be good to hear of the conclusion. The end is in sight, so, Norm, you want to talk to us about Clear Choices Clean Water?
Sure.
Program? Good.
My primary goal for 2018 is to improve and expand our public education and outreach as far as it's related to stormwater. They are both, as far as public education and participation, outreach, all those things are part of our general permit. And we are required to do a certain amount of public education and outreach. And we've done that, but to be honest, when you have limited resources, and that's not just financial resources, but that's human resources. Since we don't have our own stormwater department, we do not really have the resources to really engage the public as much as we would like to do that. So the state of Indiana, through this federal Clear Choices Clean Water Program, which I've given each of you some information on, would be a very good way for us to really step up our education, our public education participation. Give you another example. One of the requirements in our permit is we're supposed to be able to kind of gauge the knowledge of our constituents as far as stormwater-related issues, and we really don't have a good way to do that. One of the things built into this Clear Choices Clean Water Program is that they actually have a way to gauge the public's input, and there's a lot of different parts to this thing. I mean, they have a active map where we can have people actually go in and pledge to do certain things like minimize the fertilizer on their lawns, clean up their dog poo. I know it sounds bad, but hey, it really is a big issue. And a lot of those different things. So they can kind of gauge and monitor that. There would be different public media, materials that would be available to us. We could put some public, I'm trying to think of the word, public things on the cable channel. A lot of different things like that. And there would be different brochures and things that we could make available. We would have more materials to provide at different public functions. And there are a couple of different levels of participation in this program. The one where you get the most benefit as far as is everything that they have to offer. It's a 2-year, $4,000 fee. And the very last page, it kind of shows you in this table the different things that this program will offer to you, the different things available for both of the different programs. The outreach partners, I think, is half of that. It's $2,000, and that's for 2 years. But the $4,000 is $2,000 a year, And that also includes what I'd mentioned. They'll give you a report, but if it sounds like something you would probably be interested in, I could meet with the director of this. Her name's Jill Hoffman, and she's with the White River Partnership, and try to get more information on it. But this would really be a good way for us to expand and improve our public education outreach.
I think things like this are really a pretty good idea generally. I mean, people want to help, and they want to do things that are responsible with respect to clean water programs, and they don't know what to do. And, you know, I think we have a lot of first-time home owners and, you know, renters and things like that in our community who are excited about this possibility and want to do good things. And so, you know, sometimes it's nice to have a program together that gives them ideas and options and things that, you know, it explains to them too. I mean, kind of, you know, cleaning up the poo and the neighborhood and all these things are so impactful for your water system that people don't see the connection. So, you know, the lawn fertilization issue is huge.
Well, you know, it's all about water quality.
Yeah.
And that involves all the different areas. I mean,
Yeah.
water quality is not just wastewater treatment.
Yeah.
And what we're
Right.
discharging, but it's what's going down those storm drains. It's what the water department pumps out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's all about water quality and public health. And, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if you go, I encourage you to go to their website. It's right at the bottom of that first page, clearchoicescleanwater.org. And you can see the interactive map where you can see where people have pledged to do this and do that. And like if somebody pledges to use less fertilizer or not use fertilizer or whatever, it kind of projects how many pounds of nitrogen that they have eliminated from that watershed.
Yeah, and it impacts your ability to comply with, our ability as a town to comply with the regulations that are out there in terms of our discharge limits.
Yes.
You know, I think that people don't often understand what an impact their activities with respect to just their own little corner of the world make on our ability to comply with state-regulated requirements.
Well, and as we discussed earlier, the regulations are evolving.
Yeah.
In stormwater.
Yeah.
And this is a national program and a state program.
Right.
So,
Sometimes you spend a little money on educational items and you know, delay your need for expansions and everything else in terms of...
well, I think my opinion is it's well worth $2,000 a year.
Yeah, what does
And
our...
you pay much more than that for a consultant to come in and help you
Yeah.
do this thing.
Will you be able to talk to us at some point about what our budget allows for these types of things? I mean, if, you know, if we go and take a look and it looks like something that we also, you know, I'm sure we're going to agree with you on that, but it would help us then to know at a subsequent meeting, you know, where we are in terms of our dollars.
Sure.
You see educational programs like this potentially becoming a part of upcoming regulations?
It already is, but it probably, but I believe that it'll expand. I believe that the monitoring and oversight from the regulatory agencies over the public education and outreach is going to expand and increase. And so it would be to our benefit to do as much as we possibly can to educate the public.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, I think we have a calling to do that anyway. And this would be a good way to do that. You know, a lot of the communities around, they have their own stormwater departments and their
Yeah.
own stormwater personnel to manage these kind of things. And we're doing okay, but when it comes to these kind of things, we have to look outside to help us accomplish those goals.
Yeah, and I think too, you know, the fact that when you look at sort of the regulation of phosphate, that obligation from the state's perspective is going to begin to fall exclusively on municipalities. You know, industry's not going to be they're not the primary dischargers. So it's, as our numbers get ratcheted down in terms of our ability to discharge, we're going to need different solutions for preventing these things from being in our system in the first place. And I think a big part of that, I think back in Indiana years ago when we started sort of the education of people living around lakes in terms of the eutrophication, the dying of these lakes from these chemical fertilizers. And, those were sort of the first big education programs. And I think Speedway residents tend to be very receptive to these types of things. And they really, they're smart folks who want to do the right thing. So
gather some more information as far as
Yeah.
budget and all that, and then bring it to you at the next meeting
Yeah.
for,
And we'll have done our homework in the meantime, too.
Sure.
Take a look and.
which our next meeting would be when? They're quarterly, right? So,
It sounds like we'll have some things to be considering anyway,
Springtime.
so, springtime.
Felt like spring today, though.
It's
Yes,
not
it did.
20, so.
Okay,
I have
I'll
a
do-
question. Carrie,
Please.
Norm and Wendell both, how big a problem is just general litter for stormwater? I mean, I know that's got to affect our inlet capacities. I mean, I know our inlets get clogged with, I just didn't know how big a problem that is, and
I'll just share some information from the street department side, is we have crews out weekly that picks up debris
About the needles.
in the needles, and they go through a safety program to be out doing this stuff, and we provide all the safety equipment and stuff. But we have crews out weekly. Then we have a program that we go through with our sweeper truck. We run that thing at times 40 hours a week. Is trying to keep stuff out of the storm system. And talking to Norm's personnel down at his plant, they have seen a difference over the years in their collector screens of what's coming down to them. So it's a combination of the trash and us working sweeper trucks, factor trucks, monitoring our storm systems. We have BMPs throughout the town and stuff that we have on the cycle for cleaning. Norm has an inspection group that goes out and look at things. So it takes a lot to get it done,
Yeah.
but it is out there.
And if it's an organic, biodegradable type litter, it's going to produce bacteria and different kinds of viruses and all that will wash right down into the inlets and right into Eagle Creek. So it's one of the biggest, sometimes I really have to control myself because it's just a real pet peeve of mine. I
Yeah.
just
seen-
cannot believe, to me, I'll go out there with it. To me, it's a disrespect to our country. It disrespects this country to just litter it when you can't even take the thing, whatever it is, home with you and put it
Yeah.
in your trash. I mean, come on.
yeah, I saw a guy throw out, I was in the parking lot of Kroger's, just throw a cup out. I came this close to picking that up and say, hey, you dropped this, but I didn't want to have to
Bob, you're
get
sounding
Chief
like me.
Campbell involved.
Sound like my mother. Yeah,
It really is. It
All
really
rivers lead
gets
to the
my
ocean.
core.
and everything in between, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So, yeah, we're all connected. Good, well, this is a good segue for our storm inlet artwork idea.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
kind of
excited.
cool. I am too.
I'm kind of excited about this, to be honest
too.
with you. This was the surprise I told my Public Works Director that I wasn't going to tell him about until the meeting. He'd find out in the meeting. But as part of my goal to increase, and to expand and improve our public education, it's also participation. And I wish I could take credit for the idea, but, in researching websites and all this I came across this thing that the city of Dayton, Ohio is doing, where they're involving local artists to go out and educate the public by painting storm inlets and sending a message with that and beautifying, making the area pretty. And there's a few examples of their artwork that Cable's going to go through. There should be about 4 or 5 of them. And so I got looking at that and I thought, not only could we maybe get the public involved as far as participating in this, but, you know, we could consult with the Art Advisory Council to get some suggestions and help from them. But I think what would really be cool is if we had, I'm sure that we have some students in our school system that are
Very talented.
very talented in art. And that would be neat if we could come up with a program where we could have maybe an art student from the school do that. Now, my idea was Main Street. Now, I know Main Street's pretty protected, and this would be something that Public Works and Street Department, you know, would have to be on board if they'd be okay with it or not as far as, but you can do it anywhere in town. But Main Street,
It's cool.
it's the hub of the town now, and this would just add a little color and beauty to it, plus educate. So that's my idea. I mean, I'd kind of like to expand on it, and I'd have to consult with people, and we'd probably have to, you know, we'd have to get council maybe to approve or be on board, but I think what I'm just asking is, if you think it's a neat idea, I'll start pursuing it and talking to others and see where maybe it could go.
Norm, I think you'll get tremendous support from council. This reminds me of late 70s, early 80s when we would have students, I think from the high school, paint the fire hydrants. And you ask the lifers today, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, that, you know, I can remember as a kid remembering which were my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, so I think this will be, oh yeah, absolutely, to this
That's
day. There's a red, white, and blue one over off of Meadowood Drive at Lyndhurst and Meadowood. I still remember it. So I think you're going to get some positive feedback from there.
Well, you know, I might need a little help as far as maybe contacts on who to contact. I mean, my general idea would be to talk to the Art Advisory Council too,
Yeah.
but maybe have a contest within the school and where they could present an idea of what they would like to do, and then maybe just choose the ones that, you know, make a contest out of it, maybe.
I think
don't
that'd be
know.
great.
That's a great idea.
I agree.
Tammy Smith, our Parks Director, is in the process of doing something similar for a unique logo for Speedway Parks and working with the school. So she's kind of blazing that trail for you. You might want to get in touch with her. She's got the contacts, and yeah, you might just want to talk with her about what she's doing if this is something that we want to pursue.
Okay.
If you need any of those English teachers at the high school to get in line, you just let me know. Dormant on it.
All right.
No, I think it's a terrific idea, and again, I think it, you know, it's very proactive, and it sends a big message in a way that is, you know,
And
very
believe
positive.
me, I'm gonna really push that maybe one of these gifted artists come up with a "Don't Litter."
I think you should, though.
On one of these.
Here's who that community, I mean, you know, I have teenagers and young adults, and that resonates with them. They don't, you know, they see themselves as all connected. And, you know, as you get older, I think you know, our generation sees ourselves as somewhat less connected to each other. They don't, you know, it's a really small world for them. So, you know, I think these kinds of things are the things that bring them into the community as well, and let them know how much we value,
Yeah.
you know, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds. So I say have at it. You need a motion for that, do you? Or do you
No, I
feel-
don't think so, right?
No.
You're not getting any fights
Just your
from us.
blessing and concurrence to pursue
We'll help you
it.
any way we can.
All right, that's all I had, ma'am, thank you.
Yep, I think that brings us to, do we have more items?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's done. Thank you.
Thank
I think
you.
this was a record for us,
Thank
but it
you.
was a great meeting.